Welcome to Her Fantasy Football. You can hear us on Blog Talk Radio / Her Fantasy Football and on iTunes. Make sure to subscribe to us on herfantasyfootball.com so you know what we're up to this offseason. Also, you can chat with us on Twitter at Her Fantasy FB and on Facebook / Her Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Courtney Kirby.
And I'm Ashley Williams.
And I'm Brandon Marianne Lee.
And this is our running back show.
Run.
We're going to start the show off with a little bit of news because there actually is some news that's worth something now instead of just telling you random things. Josh Gordon was reinstated finally. Here we go. This is good. Slow clap.
I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. He was missed. He missed the first four. He will miss the first 4 games, and he will be out for 2 weeks of training camp with a quad injury, which is not great. We'll get back to that. Jordy Nelson had a hiccup in his right knee, which I don't know what a hiccup means, but that was the definition they said. He's in place on the PUP list. No timetable for his return. That's not great, seeing how he was completely out all last season. Le'Veon Bell is confident that he will win an appeal on his 4-game suspension for not showing up for a drug test.
Which, of course, means he'll lose.
Right.
Totally will lose.
Yeah.
Arian Foster signed with the Miami Dolphins for a 1-year deal. Woo! Yes,
Love it.
Foster is not dead. Jamal Charles is on the PUP list. Not great. Ryan Matthews rolled his ankle. Not great. Nick Foles was cut from the Rams. Not important. Mike Wallace didn't pass his conditioning test for the Ravens. Also not that important.
No.
The most exciting news, especially from us Williams sisters, Ryan Fitzpatrick signed a 1-year deal for $12 million with the Jets.
Yes!
We are huge Fitzy fans. It's not just the beard. We are in love with Fitz. And Brennan's in New York. They're Jets fans over there, and this is a big day for everybody. Big day for Brennan Marshall and Eric Decker, too.
That's right.
So if you've already drafted him, you should feel good.
The pack is back.
About drafting those, too.
How's the vibe out there, Brandon? People happy?
They shouting down the street?
It just happened. It just happened at 7 p.m. I mean,
You didn't roll your window up and
Super
scream,
Bowl.
Fitzy!
Oh, what's that noise? Oh, it's a
From your
parade
window?
for Fitzy.
What I love
Should've
was that you said roll your window down, and I did like a cranking motion, like an old school car. Which, by the way, that wouldn't be in my house anyway. No, I have no idea what people feel other than the Twitter reaction, which was mostly people either A, talking about how he's gained weight. He definitely has a dad bod thing happening right now. That's fine. B, that he strolled in at exactly 7 p.m. for the 7 p.m. deadline to sign a $12 million contract. And then C, that it was what he already agreed to, but they wanted to pay him less. Now, you would think that Nick Foles becoming available would mean that they'd be like, fine, we're going to go with Nick Foles. You either take this amount, which is less, or no more. But they were like, you know what? Nah, you called our bluff. We'll give you the $12 million.
We're done.
We're done.
Well, it's interesting because the first deal was what, $24 million, 3 years, $16 million guaranteed. So he technically would have had more money guaranteed, but he didn't. I don't think either team really wanted to lock him in that amount, or he felt, I guess, it was probably more of a slap in the face with only $16 million guaranteed over 3 years. So,
yeah,
and Fitzy, I think he will walk. Why not? I will miss the bearded wonder, but you know what? He's back this year, so I'm happy. The pack is back. Love it.
Our father is convinced that Nick Foles is going to come to the Broncos, and let's just say that Fitzy only had a 1-year deal, so we have a chance to getting him next year. So come on. All right, ladies, let's get into this Josh Gordon thing, because if everybody can remember correctly, people were drafting him last year and he never played. People are definitely going to be drafting him this year. I moved him up the rankings to 39, right ahead of Corey Coleman, his teammate. What do you guys feel about him? What are your feelings now that he's been reinstated, missing 4 games?
I'm not there yet. I feel like Gordon is going to be out again for a few weeks because of his quad injury. He was electric in 2013. Let's remind you, 1,646 yards and 9 touchdowns in 14 games. That's irrational. It's irrational.
Yeah.
Or awesome.
Right, but 2013 was a very different year than today. Today's 2016, just 3 years ago. Not 1 year ago, not 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I was just in a draft where he went in the third round.
That's
and that is insane. I just think that they did this on purpose, though, because his game coming back is against the Patriots when Tom Brady comes back. I think it's all a PR stunt right there, ladies and gentlemen, and filled with fantasy gold.
Woo! Excited. Ashley, what do you think?
I really like Gordon, and he's a talented player. I am thrilled that he is back. Not third round thrilled, but happy nonetheless. And I'm a sucker for happy endings and for second and third chances. You know, hopefully it won't be like fourth or fifth chances. But, you know, the issue is that we have no clue if this will be a happy ending, right? And if he is going to be on the straight and narrow now, and can he stay clean? Is he in football shape? As we said, he's out with a quad injury, and he hasn't worked out in an NFL capacity in over a year. You know, and so for this reason, I am staying somewhat conservative on him till I can see what he can do once he's healed from that quad injury. If he's in good shape, they will find a place for him. Corey Coleman or not, they will find place for him. He's a talented player. Luckily, most of you will not have to draft this early, so you'll have some time to get an actual look at him, so be patient. Don't go crazy and grab him third round if you are in a draft. That's just far too high. Because, again, I mean, even just working out at home is far different than working out with the NFL team and NFL capacity and NFL trainers. He's got to get back into shape. I mean, if we've already got quad injuries with a year of rest, that's not a great sign to me. So,
yep.
I like him. I'm thrilled. I'm hopeful. Don't stretch for him.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I mean, I just don't see him playing more than 6 games this season.
Wow, that's a hot take.
Bold.
I really don't.
Like it.
I mean, I think he'll be lucky if he gets 6 games in. The fact that he's already injured by just getting on the field, you know, as we said, it's been since 2013 since he's played. And the fact, you know, it's just, the whole thing just really freaks me out. And he's kind of one of those players that, like, puts it all out there, which is great, but when you haven't played in such a long time, it's like, boom, injury. You know, and his body's not in the thing where it's, like, healing super fast either. You know?
Well,
APs only come along once in a blue moon.
Definitely isn't going to heal fast with no weed, right? So,
yeah.
I think they didn't. I guess I would say this: they drafted Corey Coleman in the first round for a reason, and then they drafted 4 other wide receivers too. So they weren't planning on him, and I think that they'd be okay if it didn't happen. They still really like Terrell Pryor. I know that sounds crazy, but the guy's still on the team, you guys.
Here we are, Terrell Pryor.
They're right here.
Terrell Pryor is no Josh Gordon.
Obviously not.
They will adjust. They will shift. If Gordon plays, he's in the starting lineup. But can he get to that point?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But, like, fantasy-wise, I think it's a big gamble, and I think a third-round pick is insane. Literally insane.
Crazy.
So Jordy Nelson had a hiccup in his knee. I don't know what the hell that is, but what do you guys think? Can we trust him? He's already getting injured.
I love this. A hiccup. I get it. I have kidney stones in my knees all the time too. You know, it's had me out for years. Years.
For a second, I didn't get it.
I get it. You didn't get it? It's because you're not. It's because you're not quite as medically as fortunate as I am.
Love it.
I'm constantly broken. I'm surprised I'm still alive, quite honestly.
She's had hiccups everywhere.
Everywhere. I am myself a giant hiccup. So,
my God, I love it.
But, you know, honestly, this is him just playing off the insignificance of the injury, and I believe him. It's in the same realm of the seriousness of, like, a whoopsie daisy, in my opinion. I mean, this is... You know, he said he will be back for sure for the regular season, and the good news is that this is not on the right knee, which is where he tore the ACL that had him out all last season. So, again, this isn't the same knee, so it's not. You don't need to be worried about this being the same injury or that it's not healed and whatnot. It's in his left knee, and I'm sure they're just being conservative because there really is no reason to bring him back and play week 1 of just training camp after being out a year if we've got, you know, potentially a knee that is probably a little sore, a little overcompensated for because of the injury. I mean, they're just not rushing it. There's no need to. I'm not worried about this at all.
Brandon?
I don't love it. They just announced it's knee tendonitis in the opposite knee that he had the surgery on, and it was basically because he was overcompensating and training too hard to get back. I get it. The thing is that, we were just talking about Josh Gordon and coming back and getting back into football shape. Well, Josh Gordon's 25, just turned. Jordy Nelson's 31. And to be fair, though, 3 out of the last 4 seasons prior to last season where he sat out, he had 1,200 or more yards. Not just 1,000, 1,200 or more yards in a season. Yeah. So I have a hard time taking him out of the wide receiver 1 conversation, but I'm not quite... I personally haven't pulled the trigger on him yet.
I have.
Something has me a little nervous, so yeah, maybe that's it.
Well, and if you take Jordy out of the equation, you take Randall Cobb out of the equation, possibly Eddie Lacy out of the equation,
Aaron Rodgers out of the equation.
It's like a quick dominoes effect. We saw it last year, and that's what really scares me. It's like Jordy doesn't just affect. It's not just him. He's not just the only player you have to look out for if he's injured. You have to look at now the whole offense, and that really scares me. So I was really upset. I was really looking forward to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I've been waiting all summer for it.
Oh, so funny. All right, enough about news. Let's dive right into this running backs now. Make sure you hop over to herfantasyfootball.com to get our full rankings of all positions. Top 10. Todd Gurley. Starting it off, man.
Wow.
Here we go. Ashley does the running back rankings. She's got him at Todd. I agree, Ashley. Todd goes first.
That's right.
David Johnson, Adrian Peterson, Devontae Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott, Jamal Charles, Le'Veon Bell, Eddie Lacy, Doug Martin, and Lamar Miller.
Free Lamar.
All right. Free Lamar. All right, guys. At this moment, Bell will be absent for the first 4 games. We have him ranked at 7. Is he good enough to be going as your first running back? I mean, not that he's good enough. Obviously, we know he's good enough. But are we going to get that out of him? He got injured last year after missing 4 games. Another one of these, I missed time. You get hurt. What do you guys think? Where are you going to take him?
So do you ever do your rankings and you feel really good about it, and then you look at it later and you're like, why did I have him over him? You ever do this?
Yes.
Just me? Anyway, I feel good about my rankings because I had to go back and look at it again for this show because we just did them, updated them this morning, and then I was like, all right, I feel good about this. And, I had Le'Veon Bell at the top last week, but with the news that he will be out 4 games, I have dropped him down to the 7th spot. Granted, he thinks that he will be able to turn it over in his appeal. I'm not so sure, but until then, I'm not drafting him right away. I think that I might be able to bump him back up depending on how that appeal goes. If it's 2 games, that's far different than 4 games. But this certainly bumps D'Angelo Williams up in the rankings as well, and his value is just a completely different level now that Bell might be out. So for me, even with 4 games, Le'Veon Bell is still an RB1, but I'm not willing to take him in the 1, 2, 3 slot if he's going to be out 4 games. It's too rich for my taste if you're out 4. When he was out 2, I still justify, and I drafted him because I was like, 2 games I can handle, especially if you grab D'Angelo Williams as your handcuff, then you're not really using fantasy value per se. But for me, with 4 games and things being pending, I had to drop him down to at least the 7th spot, which still keeps him an RB1, but at least not as high value.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think this is a guy that's going to get himself in trouble. I think I can safely say that. I think that one of 2 things is going to happen. Either 1, they're going to run him into the ground because it's his contract year. And I'm talking like DeMarco Murray in Dallas kind of style. Just run the second that he gets back. Or 2, Tomlin says you need to earn your position back. And he does more of a timeshare with D'Angelo Williams. Now, obviously, D'Angelo Williams is not the same level as Le'Veon Bell, but last season he kind of
was.
He could be, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Mike Tomlin has a really interesting personality and coaching style, so I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen here. I will say that if you're going to draft Le'Veon Bell, you just have to commit yourself to the handcuff.
You have to.
I don't understand. I mean, but you know what? I'm okay with that because 9.5 out of 10 times, I'm going to want the running back from the Pittsburgh Steelers on my fantasy football team. So I'm okay with it being those two guys that I have to choose from. D'Angelo Williams, 33, but don't worry about it. He actually has only had 200 or more carries in 2 seasons since 2010. One was last season. He had exactly 200, and then 201 in 2013. So he hasn't been used that much.
Basically 26.
He's basically 26, I'd say.
Basically 26.
Right.
Slightly older than Josh Gordon. Slightly.
I say that all the time.
I can see Tomlin doing what you're saying, though, Brandon. I can absolutely say I'm done with your shenanigans, Belle. I'm done with it. You know the rules. You constantly break them. Earn your spot.
Well, he's not going to get $15 million guaranteed in Pittsburgh next year. I can tell you that right now. Like he thought he was going to get in that song. What was it? Focus?
The rap song?
Yeah. That's not going to happen. So, or they're going to run him like crazy. They might be like, you know what, then we're going to get our championship out of you before we're going to let you go.
Yeah, and if they do that, he's going to get hurt. So I am all in on D'Angelo. I am saying I would stretch for him and snatch him for whoever drafted Le'Veon Bell. And I know that's not nice, but
I would too.
You know what?
Yeah.
Sorry, you snooze, you lose. If they don't take this D'Angelo, unfortunately, if you invest in Le'Veon Bell, you have to invest in D'Angelo, and you have to do it a lot sooner than you ever would with anybody else to handcuff because of the offense and because it's D'Angelo. And you saw what he was able to do last year when Le'Veon Bell was out. So if some people aren't going to be willing to take him as high as you, I mean, hello, even if you get good 4 games out of him, sometimes that's going to be a lot better than you're going to get out of a, running back 2 in other places.
Well, I have
you don't know what Melvin Gordon's going to do this year.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
you don't know. You don't know what Isaiah Corral is going to do. You know, you don't.
But you can win on Isaiah Corral though.
You could win, absolutely.
Williams in the 6th.
Absolutely.
You can to some extent wait with Williams. I have him ranked higher than most people. And I am at 35 out of running backs. So it's not like you have to take D'Angelo in the 3rd round. It's not like you're going to stretch in that sense.
No,
you're still going to get great value for him, even if you stretch compared to, some of our counterparts rankings. You're still going to get good value for D'Angelo Williams where you take him.
He's the best.
He's the best.
He's the gold standard for handcuffs. It's like if you want the best tight end, you got to take him in the 1st round. If you want the best handcuff, you got to take him in the 6th.
There you go.
Facts.
All right, guys, we have Adrian Peterson at number 3 and Jamal Charles at number 6. Both oldies, love them. Both coming back from injuries late in their career. Obviously, Jamal Charles is more recent. How do you feel about drafting these two, Brandon?
I'm a Jamal Charles believer, and I will be forever. The guy's he has never averaged less than 5.0 yards per carry. And to put that into perspective, not one person last season with more than 150 carries averaged 5 yards per carry. Not one. He's done it awesome. Every year. Every year. So even if he loses a step, he still is better than everyone else. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it is what it is. And by the way, AP hasn't gone over 5 yards per carry since 2012. We were talking about Josh Gordon in 2013. This is a year even beyond that. So, listen, I think the difference is that AP gets a lot of carries. He had the most carries last year. He's going to continue getting the most carries. But I still, I don't know. I just feel like I'm cool with getting, it's kind of the Le'Veon Bell, D'Angelo Williams thing. I'm cool with getting Jamal Charles and then getting Charkandrick West and Spencer Ware later. Yes, I could even have 3 Kansas City running backs, maybe. I mean, depending on how deep your bench is.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm in crazy leagues of huge benches. Why not?
Yeah. So what are you thinking?
I feel okay about both of them. I feel better about AP than Charles as it stands today. And according to the talk of the updates leading up to training camp was that Charles would be ready by the start of training camp. And here we are, and here he is on the PUP list. Like Brandon said, I don't feel great about that because to me that tells me there's a setback because everything we've been hearing up to this is that he would be ready this week for the start of training camp. And the fact that there's also no set date of return makes me a little bit nervous. I do think that he'll be ready by the start of the season. And don't be surprised if you see me adjusting him up a little bit here and there just because I need to see his readiness to see where you should draft him. But with that said, I'm not worried about him re-tearing his ACL or anything like that. It's just a matter of whether he'll be football ready, but he's a pro. He's doing this for a while. He knows what he needs to do to get into football shape. He knows what he needs to do to be prepared for the season. It's not a new offense for him, so it's not like he has to learn a new playbook. So either way, he's still a top 10 back. And as Brandon said, it's crazy. 5 yards per, that's your average per carry? That's insane.
Yeah, at
but
least.
I do like the fact that, again, you got to handcuff yourself to some extent because of a little bit injury prone the last 2 years. By the way, he's an RB1 for sure. And for AP, that's a green light go. He has shown no sign of slowing down. So until he proves to me that life is over after 30, I'm not buying it, and I feel just fine. He fell into the top 3 last year. He could do definitely top 10 this year. I'm not concerned about it.
Another great handcuff, Jerick McKinnon. I mean, I think he is Minnesota's future. I think he might see the ball more than he has previously. So I am totally okay with drafting AP and then getting Jerick McKinnon later on, for sure. Because if AP does go down because he's old, it is possible. You know, he's a freak athlete, but it's very possible he could go down again. Jerick McKinnon's going to be right there to pick up the slack. There's not as much competition in Minnesota as it is in Kansas City. But you know what? Jamal Charles is such a sensitive soul that I feel like if he thought he couldn't perform at the level he expected of himself, he would retire. I know he's still young. Wow. I think he's turning 30 this year. This December, I think he turns 30. But 30 is like, you know,
the new 50 in the NFL.
Yeah, you're in the grave at 30 if you're a running back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I feel like if he believes in him, I believe in him. And I don't say that about many athletes, but like Jamal's so sensitive that I just feel like, you know, he wouldn't keep it. He wouldn't keep going. If he couldn't do it, he wouldn't do it. So
I'll also say I interviewed Kendrick West on the Bleacher Report radio show, and he was like, I'm just honored to be able to play football with Jamal Charles. I mean, Jamal Charles is still the number. Like, no one is taking away Jamal Charles' job, but they are going to give him less work to keep him healthy.
I'm sorry, let me correct myself. When I said competition in Kansas, I meant like behind Jamal.
Oh yeah, between Kendrick West and Spencer. Yeah, you're totally right on that. Yeah, but I'm saying like
Charles is fine. He's got the job, and yes, he might get a little bit more rest, but it's his job,
which is good.
Yes,
it's good.
Absolutely. Yes, it's great, especially for running backs because I'm so depressed. Because running backs are just not what they used to be anymore. It's sad. But we got a new one this year, Ezekiel Elliott. He's been in the news a bit this last week or so. This is a rookie year for him. The offense is set up for him to have a huge year. Do you believe he is worth taking with your first pick overall with all the drama? I think he's going to be able to handle it and not get in trouble and or suspended?
This is a tough one because I will not end up being in this position because I'm going to go wide receiver first. So I won't even. This isn't even like a debate in my head because I know I'm not going to get Ezekiel Elliott. You know, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure I would choose him anyway, unless he fell to me. You know, because then it's actually good value. But I don't know if I'd choose him for the fact that A, he's a rookie. B, he has a pending domestic assault charge looming over his head right now, which might lead to him not being as focused as he could be. And you know, and he's got some solid running backs behind him if he falters. So with that said, I think the Cowboys are committed to Ezekiel Elliott, and he will play Week 1 if no charges are pressed. If I had to roll with a rookie, it is in the running back position, but I'd rather get a receiver and take an Eddie Lacy in the second round and get a top running back from the next tier than me roll in Ezekiel Elliott. I know it's hard to say because I went Todd Gurley last year and that panned out. The Cowboys got a great offensive line. They're going to have to depend on that run, especially with Tony Romo. So I do think he will do well. I just think there's a lot of potential outside factors going, and for the fact that, I mean, I was able to get Todd Gurley, I think, in the 10th spot, whereas Ezekiel Elliott's going a lot higher than Todd Gurley went last year, at least in the drafts I was in. So he's too high for me.
Yeah, he graded out as the best blocker in like college history, basically. That's what I like the most about him is that they never have to take him off the field. He can do anything, so that's great. As far as the charges are concerned, you know, hey, I actually am innocent until proven guilty type of person, but the NFL is going to be doing an investigation, and yeah, that's not the best way to start off your rookie season.
No.
When you're supposed to be this superstar of a team and you got all this other stuff on your plate. Also, it happened on his birthday. I don't know if you knew that.
I mean, it loomed over anybody's head. This is an interesting one. I really, again, innocent until proven guilty. But this is a case that could be. I really don't know. I don't know.
Because the witnesses said it didn't happen. That's a little weird to me. I mean, there are a lot of little weird things. But let me tell you, I think that if he does play, he's going to be fantastic. And but I'm not taking him I'm kind of like you, Ashley. I'm not taking a running back in the first round unless I'm at the turn. And if I'm like towards the end.
And that's where I got Gurley. I got Gurley
10 to 12.
on the turn.
Right, yeah.
And I can't take a rookie at 5, can you?
But that's what I'm saying. He's not going at the turn. He's going at like Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
I just took Ezekiel Elliott at 6th pick.
But a dynasty league, though. But that's
a dynasty league.
Dynasty, he's obviously
league.
Yes.
So, AP and all those guys are still going to be on the board and into the third round. But, yeah, I mean, it's tough. And whether he did it or not, it's a distraction. And I hate when players go into the season with distractions like that. We all saw what happened to Demarius Thomas with his mother being released from prison and how much that was weighed on him. Now, whether he did it or not, people are looking at him because not everybody is your proven innocent until, proven guilty, or you're innocent until proven guilty. So it's just going to be weighing on him. People are going to be saying stuff to him, And it's not
And the Cowboys have to account for the possibility that he might not be playing for a certain amount of time. So how does this change the Cowboys' preparation of training camp at this point?
Yeah, I mean...
I think they're full steam ahead. I don't think they think anything's going to happen. But I will say, this is the same team that also took Greg Hardy on.
It's true.
So they just kind of, and they have a lot of suspended players. They're actually going to get fined for it.
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, there's a lot going on with the Cowboys. So in general, I'm a little concerned about the Cowboys. I'm mostly concerned about Tony Romo. Again, and that's why people aren't drafting Des Bryant, too, right? Because he's so Tony Romo dependent. Now, Darren McFadden was great. So you'd think that Ezekiel Elliott's going to be great. But, yeah, I mean, he's just going too rich for my blood. But he'll be great. He's just probably not going to be on my team.
Yep, there we go.
Personally.
All right, Lamar Miller finds himself a new team with the Houston Texans, and I can't believe he is in the top 10. Listen, I don't know why, but I just cannot believe in Lamar Miller.
Really?
I don't know if it's just because the Miami Dolphins just screwed me all over everywhere last year. But I just, I'm having a hard time looking any of them straight in the face. And, but I just...
Okay.
I mean, who was the number 1 running back for Houston last year? Right.
They didn't have a team
Alfred
last
Blue.
year.
Alfred Blue. How'd that work out? It's not good. It's not good.
Gee, Courtney, that was
I'm just saying, like...
Lamar Miller is better than Alfred Blue, though.
Sure.
Oh, come on. That's not even a sentence. That's not even, come on now.
No, he is. He is. It's just, I don't know. I just don't think it's, set up for, this, successful season. But, yeah, again, there's, barely any competition for him at all. So he will be the main back. It's just, I don't know. But convince me, ladies. What do you think? Is he worthy of your draft pick?
I love him. Mostly because I think they're going to have to run because they have Brock Osweiler as a quarterback. I mean, I think they wanted to run. It's just Arian Foster couldn't stay healthy. They even wanted to do little passes out of the backfield. That's actually where Arian Foster, when he did play, really excelled. So I think that they'll probably do that. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to be good at football when you only get 9 carries in a game as the starter. And that's what they did to Lamar Miller last year in Miami. So I don't want to judge him on those games because what could he do? He got 9 carries.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Multiple times. The Dolphins were a hot mess. By the way, I'm not buying that Adam Gase is going to go in there and just make magic happen in 1 year. I think that's also way over the top. But, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm delusional. I just kind of accepted that he's going to be awesome.
I hear you though, Courtney, because I do the rankings and I couldn't believe myself. I was putting him in the top 10.
It makes me sick to my stomach looking at the running back rankings. It really does. I mean, it really makes me sick because it's like, oh my God, all the good running backs aren't even in the top 10. Not all of them, but like, like the ones that we just like, like LaShawn McCoy and, Matt Forte and all those guys that I feel comfortable with taking.
Well, that's the thing about
Aren't even in the
rankings is
top 10.
you gotta look and say projection wise, what could they do? Lamar
I
Miller,
know.
based on the fact, as Brandon said, Brock Osweiler, you've got a newly starting quarterback in the NFL. They're going to do dump off passes. It's going to take a while for that offense to gel. It's going to take a while for the receivers and them to learn all their paths in their routes. He's going to get action, and even though he's one of those kind of, players that you think does horrible, he still was the 6th highest scoring running back last year.
Yes, he was.
So even though he only got 9 carries and he had completely inconsistent play because of the inconsistent offensive play calling there, he still was able to be the 6th highest scoring running back. So that has to tell me that if he's going to a team that is going to have to rely on him for the offense, he certainly can break in the top 10. But I hear you, Courtney.
Miami flashbacks.
It stresses me out too because all I do is I see in my head the bad games where he had 9 carries and he got me 1 point, and I'm like, I would never draft this guy. But it's a new team, It's a new team.
Okay, well, I'll try to get my head around it. I really will. I'm scared. Here are our next 10 running backs. At number 11, we have Mark Ingram, LaShawn McCoy, C.J. Anderson, Carlos Hyde, Matt Forte, Jeremy Hill, Thomas Rawls, Latavius Murray, DeMarco Murray, and Jonathan Stewart finishing off the top 20. Ladies, which 2 running backs stands out to you that you must have out of that group?
LaShawn McCoy is so underrated.
I know.
Carlos Williams is suspended and came into camp with pregnancy weight. This is just amazing. I think
weight. It's called sympathy weight.
Sympathy weight.
Yeah.
Sympathy weight. Mike Gillislee is still on the team, and remember us laughing about that. So, he'll maybe take some carries, but I think LaShawn McCoy is still going to be the guy. And I know he had a rough off season, but he's a character. He always has a rough off season. So
it's part of the fun.
Yeah,
It's part of the vibe.
As far as I know, he's going to be the main guy, and Rex Ryan likes to ground and pound, so I'm fine with him. And I think out of all these guys, he has the best chance of being in the top 5. I think Matt Forte is like just PPR gold forever. They also have Bilal Powell, though, who also is PPR gold. So it'll be interesting to see how they share those carries. But now that they have Fitzpatrick back and everything else is on, all cylinders go. Yeah, why not?
Up and up here. Up and up. Ashley?
Well, it's funny because I didn't even list LaShawn McCoy in this list because to me, he's one of the guys I target. Like I said, I'm not going for the Ezekiel Elliott's. I'm going for
Me too.
Eddie Lacy, LaShawn McCoy, bottom of the top tier and the top of the second tier. I kind of consider really interchangeable. Really, really interchangeable. But, I have my eyes out of this list on Matt Forte and Latavius Murray. I have really good feelings about Forte this year, on a team with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, especially now that our bearded wonder Fitzy is back and that he's signed back on. They have a complete offense, more so than they had last year. They finished second last year. They got a real chance to do well this year, and I think Forte brings exactly what they needed into this package. I don't see signs of him backing down. He still had a great season last year, even though the Bears were a hot mess. So I don't think it's going to be any different. I feel really good about him. And Murray, he did really well last year, too, with the Raiders, and they're a young team, and they're only going to gel more and get better. And, Murray is their guy and is a solo back, so you got him and Forte. I think they both landed A in the top 10 last year, I'd like to point out. And they both have a good chance of doing the same thing this year. And for where you can get them, and I have them ranked higher than most, you're looking at what? That's 15th and 18th? For guys that landed in the top 10 last year, is really good value for where you can get them.
Forte is going in the end of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
So if he's let's say you went wide receiver, and you decided, you know what, I'll just throw a dart on Matt Forte. I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth about it. Maybe I'm too excited about Fitzy. Do you think that's what happened? And we both said Forte. Do you think that's it?
No.
I don't think so at all. I think that this is like the value list.
Yeah, true.
I mean, this is to me, this is the value list. This is like, go wide receivers, guys, because
And get these
11
guys.
through 20 is just as good. I mean, it could be just as good. I'm not like, super excited a couple of them, but I'm really interested to see what Carlos Hyde does this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very new team. I have a feeling they're going to be running a lot. But I kind of have a thing with San Francisco this year. I feel like they might kind of drafting Torrey Smith a lot, and I'm kind of into it. I know.
I'm obsessed with Bruce Ellington. I missed our wide receiver show, but I'm obsessed with Bruce Ellington.
Yeah. See, it's
clinically.
Yeah, I feel like Carlos Hyde. We saw that spurt at the beginning of the season last year, and like what he's capable of doing. I feel like that could happen throughout the season this year if San Francisco keeps it together and if he can keep it together. I kind of pretty excited about him. And Jonathan Stewart at 20, I mean, I think that's such a good value pick. It's hard because we have history with Jonathan Stewart previous to last year, but that to me is just such a great value pick at 20. I just don't know how you can't do that. Those are my two on this particular list I'm into.
He's going at the end of the 5th, Courtney. You're totally right. 5th round.
5th round. I mean, that's just
on a running team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which running back are you guys staying away from this year out of that list?
Well, it's funny you just brought up Carlos Hyde because he's one of the ones I'm staying away from.
Yeah. He's risky. They all are.
Yeah.
I mean,
but here's the thing.
Running backs in general are. Yeah.
I have no real sound reason for not wanting him or targeting him. I have no reason. There's nothing I can statistically say as to why I do not like Carlos Hyde.
Because he plays for the 49ers in that division.
I mean, it is. I mean, he's on a team with a horrible offense, and he's had injuries.
No quarterback.
And for me, like you said, I look at this group of 10 of these. I think you nailed it perfectly. These value guys. These guys are the value category, and for me, there are just other guys I would rather take on this list than Carlos Hyde, just because he's a little bit risky for me. It's one of those things where sometimes there's situations where you look at a guy and you're like, you know what, he could blow up, and he should blow up. He's got the talent and the tools, but I'm okay missing out on that because I'd rather miss out on that than have the buyer's remorse that I picked Hyde up and boom, he goes back out, 2nd game of the year, and there's Carlos Hyde gone again the whole season.
Stinks.
I don't have major problems with a lot of these. I would say one that I'm avoiding is Chris Ivory. I actually think they're going to go back to T.J. Yeldon. T.J. Yeldon was fine. Their offensive line was terrible. So I think that he won't be as involved as I think. But I guess if you really put me to it, C.J. Anderson, I can't decide if he's the deal of the century or if I'm going to stay away from him. I can't, and it's one or the other. I don't know which it is.
Too. It's C.J. Anderson. It has to be because there's Devontae Booker that everybody keeps talking about. Sign Ronnie Hillman again.
Yeah.
It's going to be running back by committee. There's attitudes, I feel like, in the backfield there. There's conflict with the coaches, I just feel, and it's not my favorite situation. Granted, they will be running a lot in Denver, right? I mean, that's one positive thing. Supposedly they're going to be running a lot.
But even after Ronnie Hillman had more yards than Anderson last year.
That's what I'm saying.
But they continue to go to Anderson. And I get it. Mm-hmm. I understand. I get it. And there's injuries involved. But I agree, Brand. That's I'd rather have Forte.
Yeah. I didn't have any C.J. Anderson last season, and I have a feeling I'm going for a repeat.
Me neither. I'm not into it. Can't do it. All right. Unlike the wide receivers, running backs are not deep at all. So where do you guys cut off in our rankings? So make sure you hop over to herfantasyfootball.com so you can check out our rankings. But where do you guys cut off for like your starting lineup? So your top 2 running backs, and then where do you cut off?
Well, I mean, I like a lot of little people. I mean, it depends on, again, always read your settings. Is it PPR? Do you get 0.25 points for a carry? I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things that people do. And so every setting kind of has a different, diamond in the rough. But I guess, like, when I'm looking through here, It kind of depends. If I went wide receiver early, if I'm in a PPR league, I'm fine starting at Charles Sims. I actually do like Isaiah Crowell this year. I know everyone is all about Duke Johnson, which I also like him, but man, if he's the Jeremy Hill of the Hugh Jackson, and Duke Johnson's Giovanni Bernard, well, Jeremy Hill has outscored Giovanni Bernard in every format over the last 2 seasons, so that has some value. I mean, even LeGarrette Blount, I think especially the first 4 games, I think they're going to run a lot with Jimmy Garoppolo out there. So, I mean, that's probably, maybe Theo Riddick is where I start getting scared. Chris Johnson, Jordan Howard. Now we're in the people that need assistance to become fantasy relevant. I guess so. That would be my area.
Right, Ashley?
Fair enough. I had to go back to our rankings to see where the cut is, because based off what we just talked about in terms of our top 20, all of those guys are starters. Every single league you're going to have at least 2 starting running backs. So every single guy we've talked about is a starter, even though we all are like, oh, I don't know about Carlos Hyde or CJ Anderson. To some extent, they're all starters still in the general standard formats. So for me, when it comes to where the cutoff is in terms of where's the third guy you start, and if you're starting that third guy, it's generally in a flex role. And again, know your settings, like Brandon is saying, because a lot of times I start a wide receiver versus a running back in a flex. But for me, that cutoff came at 23rd, which ends at Giovanni Bernard, and Jeremy Langford is above that, so he's lumped into that group. And I think both those guys could be in a starting role as a flex, and I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say that every single week you are basically looking at that guy to fill your flex role. You may switch it out depending on if you've got a wide receiver that's got a fantastic matchup. I think for the most part, those guys are your guaranteed guys. The rest of the guys, in terms of the Duke Johnsons of the world, the Matt Jones, the Deion Lewises, they are all matchup guys. So for me, they're not a guaranteed starter, but they're the matchup guys that kind of Brandon was saying, the Theo Riddicks and such. Know your settings, know who you're playing, because they could be a fantastic flex play, but I'm not guaranteeingly looking at them to be in my roster every single week.
Yeah, it kind of gets tough because, I'd hate to have Melvin Gordon in my lineup ever, but I feel like, same with Frank Gore. I don't know why, but he just, worries me that he'll,
But if you look, he
all over
actually
and croak.
he fell in the top 25 last year.
He always does.
You know what I'm saying?
Always in
Even
1,000
though
yards.
he looked
Unbelievable.
horrible,
He's
still
a
fell in
freak.
the top 25, and he's got
Yeah.
one back.
Right.
He's the Joseph Adai of our times.
He's way better than the Joseph.
Yeah.
That's true. That was me.
Don't
That's
be
me.
mean.
That was me.
I didn't mean that. Well, Joseph Adai sometimes had better
Say
stats.
you're sorry.
Like, really? Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
that's true,
I am
but-
sorry, Frank Gore. You are better. I actually really like Frank Gore. I really like him, but yeah, he's getting older. It's different.
Well,
I don't know. I think that this position is terrible because every year we're like, I wouldn't ever start this person. And then Darren McFadden's a top 10 guy. Every year it's just a hot mess.
Yeah, I guess to me it's like when you start seeing doubles from the same team, other
Right.
than Cincinnati,
Yeah.
I kind of start
Getting nervous.
Yeah, so right around 30-ish is where I'm about cutting it off.
I am on board with Brandon for the Browns, though. I drafted Isaiah Crowell in one of my leagues over Duke Johnson, actually. Because, well, I could have got Duke. I didn't want to take him because I thought he was taking too high for where I wanted him, so he went off the board. But I knew I could get Isaiah Crowell way low. I think I got him in the 19th or 20th round in the Scott Fishbowl League, and I was like, I feel great about that value there.
Yeah, absolutely, that's true. For the value, it's good.
Yeah.
All right, Arian Foster has a life again.
Yes.
I'm using the defibrillators.
Not according to Ashley.
Great, Ashley. What do you guys expect of him this year?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not going to lose it and jump him up into the top 10 here. Here's the thing. While, I hope for greatness, I'm not sure that I'm not on the Jay Ajayi train. So I'm not on his train, but I have to wait and see how he does in training camp to bump him up. I'm not going to be bumping up a whole lot more in the top 30, though, as he is injury prone and he's in a new offense. It's beforehand he would get hurt, and he's one of those guys that would get hurt mid-season for 2-3 games and then come back and play awesome. And you knew he was a guy that you still picked up because when he was healthy, he had great games, and then he'd get hurt and he'd be out, and then you'd play him again and 3 weeks later and he had a great game. But he's in a new offense. That was a lot easier to do when you were in the offense that you grew up in this is a completely new offense. So for me, I need to see that he's actually healthy, that he's actually going to play. The coaches seem to be liking him a lot, but they won't commit to any sort of usage and ratio of shares that they're going to have. He's Jay Ajayi is allegedly still their guy. So for me, it's hard for me to bump him up because I think people are prematurely bumping him up too soon. And then if you have a draft right now, reaching a little bit, in my opinion.
Brandon?
Yeah. Well, he played in 4 games last season. Only 163 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. But he put up 227 receiving yards off of 22 catches and 2 touchdowns. So I think they're going to use him in the passing game and have Jay Ajayi run the ball. And that's what...
Well, they have been having him practicing actually in routes.
Yeah. I think that's what they're going to try to do because let's put it this way. Ryan Tannehill needs help.
Yes, and the jump off to Foster will be perfect.
What?
So I think
what? Jordan Cameron's not good enough?
I am overwhelmed
the worst.
with Miami sometimes, but I will say that I think he'll be involved in PPR leagues more than. I mean, I don't think I'll get him in any standard leagues unless something crazy happens. But PPR leagues, maybe.
I mean, where would you guys put him right now? I have him ranked 37, so I don't have him ranked crazy low. He's 37.
Yeah.
He's above Charles Sims. He's above Isaiah Crowell. He's just barely below D'Angelo Williams. He's above LeGarrette Blount. He's above Theo Riddick and Chris Johnson. I mean, where would you put him right now?
No, I think that's fair.
My main issue is I think they're also going to use him as a receiver, but now he's not only has to learn the running back position in terms of the offense of Miami, but he's got to learn the wide receiver position as well to a great extent in Miami.
I think they'll have him still line up as a running back, but they'll just have a dump off. I mean, I don't know. I think of him as I think what they want to do is have him be the Danny Woodhead.
I was going to say, I would put him right in between Danny and TJ is where I would put him. I think that's kind of like who he'll be. But we don't know. I mean,
so 3 spots higher than I have him.
Yeah,
not drastic.
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't say you did a bad job.
No, we're not saying that.
No. I just think it's like Ashley hates him, and I'm like,
no. But some people moved him up into
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying
too rich. It's a little too rich.
Yeah, it's a little too rich. No, but I mean, if you're asking me, Amir Abdullah has more upside, maybe. But am I comfortable? I don't know. I mean, that's what's so hard about rankings. It's
they're all, at that point, they're all a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, guys, if I get some good news, I'm probably bumping him up into the top 30 above Melvin Gordon. I need a week. I need a week to see, flesh it out a little bit more.
Well, Fitzmagic's back, so now anything's possible.
That's right. The magic is
I think
in
37 is fine. I'm just saying you obviously weren't making a statement that you were like, he's back.
Yeah, no.
I already drafted him in one of my leagues before he was on the team.
Good for you.
And I'm super excited about him. I got him for nothing. So
it's a great value.
Yeah, and again, it's Miami, so you don't know what's going to happen, but I think that he's going to do well. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we celebrated when he found a team, and we had a big, nice steak dinner to celebrate Arian Foster.
Yeah.
A little extra protein for him. Keep him healthy. But we're
in vicariously for him.
Yeah, I am. I'm giving it to him. But I'm into him. I'm excited. I can't wait. I think that he's going to do a lot better. I think he's going to be one of those value picks at the end of the year. People are going to be like, wow. I can't believe I got him and Matt Forte in the 3rd and 6th round. I'm into it. All right, it's that time again, ladies. It's the quick fire. In 2 sentences, who would you rather draft on our fantasy football island? You only get one, folks. All right, guys. Chris Ivory or TJ Yeldon?
Both make me nervous as neither has been a standout on a consistent basis, but hence how we end up in a split carry situation. So because of this and the fact the team is choosing to roll with the new guy as their RB1, despite Yeldon knowing the offense, is curious to me, which makes me choose Ivory, although I don't feel good about either.
Brandon.
I'm going Yeldon, A, because Chris Ivory has an injury history that makes me uncomfortable. And B, he wasn't that terrible. It was the offensive line. So I think he's improved his physique. I'm in.
All right. I'm into Ivory, Ashley. I think I'm with you on this one. I just feel like, although he's injury prone, I feel like Jacksonville is going to get the ball around a lot. The defense is on fire. I feel like he's not going to need to do as much. Therefore, he's going to have a larger impact when he gets the ball. So I'm into Chris Ivory. Jeremy Langford or Melvin Gordon?
Oh. Oh, me.
It's you, Brandon. Sorry. Gotta pick one. Gotta do it.
This is the worst question ever. I'm going to go...
There's a worse one than this.
I'm going to go with Jeremy Langford because I believe that John Fox is extremely conservative, and I think Langford seems like the easy choice for him, and I think the offensive line for San Diego's not good.
This is the butter hands question. The butter hands. Ashley?
I'm also going Langford over Gordon because I think Langford is more consistent than Gordon is. And at least Langford was able to prove that he'd get it done last year and was a top 25 running back despite not playing every single game. So giving the vote of confidence, I agree with Brandon on the conservativeness of John Fox. I think Langford's got a good shot.
We're all in on Langford. I feel like Danny Woodhead is the better backup, and I feel like he's going to get more touches than Gordon's going to want him to. At least I hope he does because I think Woodhead's the real deal. So I'm going Langford. I think that he's just going to get the volume. And I think he's going to have one less fumble than Gordon.
Yeah.
But 2 more drops than Gordon. Ryan Matthews. Yeah, at least. Ryan Matthews or Matt Jones.
So this was the bad one, Brad. You're like Langford and Gordon. I'm like, come on, you know Ryan Matthews and Matt Jones is right around the corner here. It's really like you hate me with this question based on last year and previous seasons and my general hatred of both players. But I would go with Matt Jones for the fact that I think the Redskins will really make an effort to build a running game around him, as that he did show signs of explosiveness and talent that year, and they showed signs that they wanted to build it around him last year, even though they had Alfred Morris. So let me be clear. I am not targeting either of these guys.
You were on the desert island.
I don't hate myself enough to pick them up. I don't. Yeah.
Brandon?
I am targeting Ryan Matthews.
What? Crazy. You are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sprained ankle out of the gate.
David in all of her leagues.
Sprained ankle out of the gate.
That's fine. It's fine. All I'm saying is Doug Peterson took over as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he is the guy behind the Chiefs running back game, and that's all they do is run, 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 run. And they got Sam Bradford there. They are going to run. And Ryan Matthews was actually pretty decent last year, you guys.
That's right. That's right. I was going to pick Ryan Matthews because I, too, I'm a believer in him. The injury kind of worries me with his age. And I have to say, with Matt Jones screwing up so many times last year, they kept giving him the ball.
Over and over.
Oh, yeah.
So, over and over. They're into it. They're all in.
They're all in. Especially with giving away Morris this year. I mean, it's just like they were doubling down on this kid. Yeah. Doubling down. So if I had to choose today, it's Matt Jones. All right, backup world here. Tevin Coleman or Carlos Williams?
I'm going Tevin Coleman because in the Kyle Shanahan offense, if something were to happen to Devontae Freeman, which let's hope not, they will continue to run the ball like crazy, and Tevin Coleman will be the better, I think, of the handcuffs. And he's not suspended.
I see your point, and I disagree. I suppose Carlos Williams, again, I don't love the options, but LaShawn McCoy does seem to get hurt here and there, so while neither's a great option, I wouldn't be mad at you for stashing a guy like Carlos Williams. Granted, he is suspended, but he does play well when he comes in, and he was very impactful last year, more so than Tevin Coleman. Yes, he has sympathy weight, but he'll be able to work that off by the time the regular season hits. And if you got McCoy, why not stash him? If you got a deep roster.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go with Brandon with Tevin Coleman. I'm not a big fan, but Devontae is going to be such a huge part of your offense that if he goes down, you're going to have Tevin Coleman. And, I mean, I have a feeling, Shanahan's going to go to Coleman if Freeman gives up just even a little bit. Even if he just gives up just a little bit, I think Coleman's going to be the dude. So I'm going Coleman in hopes that he'll get some serious time. Chris Johnson or Darren McFadden?
I'm going with Chris Johnson, as I think McFadden would be a better pick if Elliott gets hurt. But I think he's young, he's healthy. I don't really see that happening. So I think the Cardinals will find ways to use Johnson more consistently as a receiver back in a game than McFadden will be used. I think McFadden will primarily only be used if Elliott is hurt. Because, again, like Brandon said, they have no reason to take Elliott off the field. So really you're looking for Elliott to get hurt to use McFadden, whereas Johnson may have opportunities even with David Johnson healthy.
I'm going to go Darren McFadden because the Dallas Cowboys have the #1 offensive line for the last 2 years counting. And if something were to happen to Ezekiel Elliott, I would feel good about playing him, whereas I'm never going to feel good about playing Chris Johnson if David Johnson's still out there.
Boo! Chris Johnson.
What? That's right.
No way.
Right.
Johnson.
Yes way.
Yes way.
Don't let last year McFadden fool you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Please remember the 5 years prior to that.
They have their running back. They're going to run him until he dies. That's Ezekiel Elliott, and he's not going to die. So, that's the way it is. It's Elliott time. McFadden is no more. He's going to have, like, D'Angelo Williams numbers when Le'Veon Bell is in.
He'll have a few. He'll vulture a few touchdowns. He'll do a few goal lines, but
doubt it.
I'm looking at him as a handcuff, not actual production.
And
right.
I was looking production, not handcuff. I agree McFadden's a better handcuff than Chris Johnson. But in terms of if you actually need some points and you're not looking for an injury.
Yeah, if you're in like a 30-person league like we're in.
Yeah. All right. Jerick McKinnon or Shane Vereen? Brendan.
Jerick McKinnon, and it's not even close.
What?
Not even close.
Disagree.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, do I have to finish that?
Nope. Yeah. That's enough. Ashley?
I like Jerick McKinnon. I do. But they are locked in with AP. They are locked in with AP, whereas the Giants running back situation is way much more up in the air. There's a better chance that, again, if Rashad doesn't do well, maybe he gets booed and they put Vereen in the next game. Whereas McKinnon isn't going to get in unless AP gets hurt. If AP gets hurt, again, if we're thinking handcuff, I agree McKinnon's the better option. But if we're talking just overall production, a day-to-day game, and you need some off points, Vereen's your dude.
Definitely off points.
Yeah, and Ashley, that is my exact point why I would not take Shane Vereen, because he's going to lure you in, and you're going to start him one game, and he's going to get you 0 fantasy points. With Jerick McKinnon, you're not going to start him. You know his purpose.
You shouldn't start Vereen unless Rashad is out
But Vereen is the receiving back there. He's gonna have moments of excellence, and you're gonna be like, okay, maybe I'll start him. I need somebody. You're gonna start him, and he's gonna zero out on you. Jerick McKinnon will never do you like that, because you're never gonna start him unless AP goes out.
Unless AP. Again, if you're talking
handcuff, he's more comforting to me.
Yeah.
He's more like I know he won't tease me to put him in. And Shane Vereen is a teaser. He's a teaser.
He is a teaser. But if you've got a league like us where you have to start either 7 wide receivers or 5 running backs, you're going to start Vereen over McKinnon because Vereen at least has a shot every game to get you some points, whereas McKinnon doesn't.
I think McKinnon's actually going to get more.
I think he's going to get more touches this year.
I think more touches, yeah.
Crazy.
Because I think this is AP's last year. Rumor has it it's going to be his last year as a Viking.
Rumor has it.
All right, that's enough. All right, let's get to those Denver Broncos. Last one, ladies. Ronnie Hillman or Devontae Booker?
Well, maybe some will disagree with me because we've all disagreed the last few ones, but they seem to really like Booker in camp, and I think that they think he's got better hands than Hillman. So Booker seems to be the better choice since Anderson is going to be the every down back guy in town. Plus, Hillman was part of that perception of the struggling Broncos running backs core last year, whereas Booker is all shiny and new. Even though Hillman technically had more yardage than Anderson last year, for whatever reason, they like Anderson. So there's even talk of Hillman getting cut from the team right now.
For Nick Foles. Just kidding.
Oh, I'd be so angry.
My choice is C.J. Anderson.
You don't get C.J. Anderson. He's not on the table.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
You don't want either of
Jamal
these guys.
Charles or Jacandrick West. Obviously, right. Brandon, come on.
Right, come on now. All I'm saying is this is scary. I guess I would go with the devil I don't know.
Booker.
Yeah.
Hillman is still ranked above Booker on the depth chart. That's what's interesting. This is what's tricky about camp too. All the hype in camp, but you don't actually know what's going to flush out on that depth chart.
You know, I for whatever reason I have a soft spot in my heart for Ronnie Hillman, but I still.
I'm going Hillman. I'm going to go Hillman. I just feel like I hope
This is Monty Ball year.
This is Monty
Where he
Ball.
comes out of nowhere and runs like crazy.
I feel like
I just don't trust any of them. It's the Broncos.
No, any of them. None of them. Oh well, I do. I'm on Thomas train this year, but for the running back situation, I'm not. I can't do it. It's just too scary to me. Too much running back committee. But I'm going to go Ronnie Hillman out of these two questions just because I feel comfort with him. It's not a good reason at all. Well, that is our running back show. Thank you, ladies. We did well on the Fantasy Island. I appreciate you. Next week, we will be finishing up the rest of the positions. So we're going to cover tight ends, kickers, and defenses all in one show. So make sure you listen to us next week. You can also check us out on Twitter at HerFantasyFB, on Facebook /HerFantasyFootball. And then come subscribe to us at herfantasyfootball.com. We update our rankings every Wednesday morning, so you can get new, fresh rankings. Hopefully we'll get our new cheat sheet out soon. And, make sure to chat with us. Until next time, no more faking it.